Now, in this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast, we have on Mr. Sean Pfalzgraf, who is the founder of BluePeak Financial. I wanted to bring Sean on to actually share with you proactive tax strategies that can save you money. Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model/actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. All right, Mr. Sean Pfalzgraf, welcome to the Happy Hustle, my man. I am super stoked to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kerry. Glad to be here.
Listen, Sean, you are my go-to CPA. You're my consultant when it comes to proactive tax strategies and just basically helping me not get in trouble with the IRS and adhere to all the proper laws and regulations while still being aggressive, ethically aggressive, of course. And you are a project agile consultant as well as many other things. And I want to just share some of your wisdom with the happy hustlers when it comes to proactive tax strategies specifically today, because this is something that is just as certain as death, and that is paying your taxes, unless you're part of that demographic that doesn't pay their taxes, of course. But this is something that is very important. So Sean, tell us just real quick about your company, BluePeak Financial, and just how'd you get involved in what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So BluePeak Financial, I focus on three main things. The first is proactive tax strategies. And what I mean by proactive tax strategies is we're not waiting until April 15th, until the deadline, to think about how can you optimize your tax situation? How can we help you build wealth and pay your fair share in taxes and not a penny more? So first things first, let's get your taxes in order and let's strategize. Let's build out a plan and let's focus on creating wealth for the long term. Next is outsourced accounting, right? So you as a business owner work with a lot of business owners, startups, entrepreneurs, and you're doing everything in the business, right? And the last thing you want to do is be plugged into your numbers, doing the day-to-day grind. You want to focus and prioritize your time where it matters most. So what I do is I come in and I handle the operational side, and I help finances become a strength and not a weakness. I want to help you make decisions so that you can prioritize things in your business and stay informed, but not be in the nitty-gritty where it's sucking up all of your time. And lastly, compliance, right? Compliance. The IRS is coming. Uncle Sam wants his cut. So I want to make sure your taxes are done right, your legal entity is set up correct, and you are set up for success, because the last thing you want to worry about is regulators coming, asking you questions, and pulling you away from the things that you love to do, which is your business.
Yeah, wow. Well said. And this is why I wanted Sean to come on the mic and share his wisdom, because not only does he, do it for other people's businesses, but he does it for my business, and it's been transformative. I am not a numbers guy. I do not love to roll my sleeves up and find the missing, payments or the hidden deductions or any of that. I'm a visionary. I like to create, big things, and I need someone like Sean, and so do you, to get in there and to make strategic choices and decisions based on their numbers. What would you say is, just before we get into the three proactive tax strategies, what would you say is the biggest mistake you see with entrepreneurs and business owners right now when it comes to their books and taxes?
Yeah. So I like what you said about the visionary piece. I do, if you're familiar with the EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, I kind of play that integrator role. Right, I want to kind of help you manage those things that maybe aren't at that kind of non-visionary level. I would say the number one thing that I see with entrepreneurs is they're avoiding looking at the numbers. Right, it becomes everything. They're on your back, and you ignore it until you can't ignore it any longer. And that's the place that we want to get you out of. Right, we want this to be an asset for your business and not a liability.
That resonates. That hit me, man. I do avoid, you know me. Yeah, he's like, hey, did you do this? I'm like, no, not yet. Sorry. And, and I'm a get her done kind of guy. But when it comes to my numbers, I'm like, just tell me how much we're making and what I need to do to grow the top line and decrease, this and that. And he's like, okay, do this, and that. And he makes it easy for me. That's why I love you. But anyway, let's get into these 3 proactive tax strategies that you did for my business and that you do for a lot of other businesses that saves them a ton come tax time and also sets you up for future success. Let's start first with S-Corp and that legal entity that actually helps save you taxes. Explain to people the different entities. I'm sure most people know LLC and some of these sole proprietorships, stuff like that, but just do a quick overview and then why we went with an S-Corp taxation.
Sure. Yeah, so I think there's a common misconception out there around what is a business. You could be operating a side hustle, which is turned into a little bit more than a side hustle. Maybe you haven't officially gone to the government and said, hey, I want to set up a legal entity. You are still running what's called a sole proprietorship, a business. You don't have an EIN, which is an identifier with the state that you're in, but you are operating a business. So you have a sole proprietorship, which is really just you as a solo entrepreneur are running a business. You're generating income and you have expenses, and that gets reported on your 1040 taxes. You could also have a partnership, and a partnership, you somebody else, you're working together, you're collaborating, and those funds are commingled between the two. And then you have what's called an LLC, or a limited liability company. And a limited liability company establishes a separate legal entity to help with asset protection, right? So this entity is, in the eyes of the government, is an individual, or kind of a separate legal entity. You can think about it that way, in which God forbid something happens within the business. If you're doing real estate, somebody slips and falls, breaks their neck, and they're looking for legal settlement. That wouldn't come after your personal assets, which I think is very important for any business owner. So highly recommend an LLC. If you're running your own thing, asset protection is very important. And then lastly, you have a corporation, a C-Corp, and that would be kind of the next level, which is even further treated as its own legal entity, its own individual, and that's actually taxed at the entity level. Now, the S-Corp, there's kind of an S-Corp versus an LLC and what that means. But an S-Corp is only the election to be taxed as a corporation. So what that means is you can have an LLC and you can make a decision. Do I want to stay and be taxed as an LLC, or would I like to be taxed as what we call an S-Corporation?
Guys, I want to take a few moments to tell you about my latest discovery. Now, I'll tell you, this is one of the hottest, super nutrient-packed products that I have found to boost my brain and overall well-being on the market. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about my experience. As soon as I tried this product, I became a super fan of it because I was just blown away with the immediate results. I felt more focused, my mind was clear, and I actually increased my mental performance. Not to mention, it just became a part of my go-to routine for boosting my productivity, increasing my immune support, and even glowing and healthier skin. Yes, I said it. I care about my skin quality. So this product was actually developed after long years of research by one of the most advanced brain chemists and formulators today. And you've probably heard of the superpowers of mushrooms and extracts and collagen. But I gotta say, this is the combination of all of those power-packed ingredients in one. It includes lion's mane, chaga, cordyceps, reishi, collagen, and Peruvian cacao. It's truly like magic in a jar. It's called Colla Genius, okay? And I gotta say, you can add it to your coffee, your water, you kind of mix it in your smoothies, whatever you want to do. It mixes up very similar to protein powder, except it tastes a lot better. I mean, it's got a chocolicious flavor, and it's delicious and nutritious. And you get the hookup for watching and listening to The Happy Hustle. You can go to Nootopia, that's NOOTOPIA.com /happy genius. HAPPYGENIUS, and use promo code HAPPY10 during checkout to save 10%. And I got to say, the best part is you actually get a 365-day money-back guarantee with this stuff. That means they actually care about you and they stand behind their products and they want you to love it, or you get your money back. So check it out today. You can go to newtopia.com/happygenius and get some college genius in your life and start to boost that brain and body and increase that skin glow, fam. All right, y'all. Now let's get back to this episode.
So that's an election that you make with the IRS. There's a couple rules here. You have to make it within the first 60 days of the new tax year, or within 60 days at which you organize your LLC. So there's a form that you file with the IRS that actually tell the IRS, I want to be taxed as an S-Corp. And so the reasons why you would do an S-Corp. If you're reaching the $50,000 in profit area with your business, that's about the time that you want to start considering an S-Corp. And the benefits of establishing an S-Corp are that when you have an LLC, you have what's called self-employment tax. This is your FICA and your Medicare, and they're gonna tax you pretty hard. They tax you on all your net profits if you're an LLC with that self-employment tax. If you set up an S-Corp, what you're doing is saying, okay, IRS, I'm gonna pay myself a reasonable salary, and this reasonable salary is going to come to me in the form of a W-2. So we'll run your payroll, and you'll pay yourself a salary just as a W-2 if you were kind of working for a larger corporation. But what this does is you pay self-employment taxes on the W-2 income that you're paying yourself from the business, but the money that's left over at the end of the year, what we call the owner's distributions, you do not have to pay the self-employment tax. And this self-employment tax is 15.3%. And that's not to mention kind of the state level tax on top of it. So it's important to kind of make this determination when you're looking at your business and proactively planning for your taxes, whether this is the right option for you and your business. And the reason we look around that $50,000 range is because if you're not making the $50,000 in profit, it may not justify the cost that it takes to run payroll, to pay an accountant. There's some more reporting requirements when it comes to S-Corp. Tax filing date changes. There's a K-1 involved, so it's a little bit more cumbersome on the accounting side. But that's what we're here for. So if you do kind of fit that need, happy to help. And I think it's a really important thing, whether it's with us at BluePeak or with your accountant that you work with, that you bring to and kind of make that assessment, that judgment on your own.
Yeah, very well said. And it's just really important. All the happy hustlers out there, you guys have to really think about this stuff. Like, work smarter rather than harder. Taxes are oftentimes the biggest expense in your business, straight up. Not your, assistants and your freelancers and your marketing budget and any of that stuff. Like, taxes, if you look at the numbers, are oftentimes the biggest expense. And I know with our business, specifically, we saved thousands and thousands of dollars just by electing to be taxed as an S-Corp. And that was all based on this same philosophy that Sean just explained to you, why it makes sense. And for you, if you're an LLC making over $50,000 in profit and you're not getting taxed as an S-Corp, you're literally paying more in taxes than you need to. You're actually throwing money away. And, who likes to do that? I think
another key point here is that once the year ends, it's too late. That's why proactively working with an accountant on a regular basis is so critical, so important. So you can be informed, you can make those decisions when the time is right, instead of wishing you had saved that money earlier, right? So
exactly.
That's
yeah. So just real quick, obviously, for those people who want to go deeper, Sean has something very generous to offer all the happy hustlers. So stick around to the end. But just for people, like, real quick, if they did want to elect as an S-Corp to be taxed, what does that process look like? Is it just submit a form? How long does it take, et cetera?
Yeah, so there's a very simple 1 to 2 page form that you'll submit with the IRS. You can look it up. You can Google S-Corp election. It's a form F 2,500 and something, probably 552. But you basically fill out that form. You're letting them. Yeah, the form number doesn't really matter, but when you see it, you fill out the form. You let them know when you're electing to do this as of. And you would file that with the state. I do recommend that you work with an accountant when you do this. There's also an option to retrospectively do it as long as it's within the tax year and it's justified. There's a whole separate process for that, so I wouldn't recommend doing that on your own. But definitely look into it. It's a form that you file, and essentially what you're doing, you still have the LLC, but you're electing to have it taxed as an S-Corp. So that's a key determination there.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So the first proactive tax strategy, S-Corp elections. The second one, Sean, hit us with it. So
Carrie, you and I know this one pretty well, and it tends to be an issue that we find with a lot of entrepreneurs as they're getting their business up and running, and even a couple years into the business, and that's the importance of separating your personal from your business expenses. And this, I cannot iterate this enough. This is key. If the IRS were ever to come ask questions, you want to make sure these funds are separate, because it gets very muddy when they come and that's not the case. So I definitely strongly encourage separation between business and personal. Now, I have a couple of tips on maybe how you go about this if you haven't even thought about it. The first thing is get your bank accounts linked up to a banking app. So I like Mint from Intuit. Carrie, I know you like Personal Capital. Capital One has an offering out there. But anything that's going to digitize your transactions and pull it into a budgeting tool. There's also YNAB, which is Know Your Budget, very good budgeting tool that I use. But get it linked up, start tracking these expenses. And that's gonna come important when you talk to your accountant. You say, hey, I know I got some commingled funds, but I'd really like to kind of sort through them. That will make their lives a lot easier, and it also helps you kind of understand what expenses you're spending, and if you can tag them as business expenses if you'd like. The next thing I think important with the legal entity setup is go to a bank with your EIN. So you need to file when you decided you're going to do a business. You need to file to have an EIN with the IRS. And then from there, you can go to a bank with your EIN and say, hey, I'd like to set up a checking account. This is for my business. And that's, really the start of separating personal from business, and then start to push your business expenses over to the business. So, kind of a multi-step process. First is track. Second is make sure the legal entity is set up properly, and then go to a bank and open that bank account and start proactively separating those expenses.
Yeah, and just to Sean's point, this was something that it was a pain in the butt for me to keep track of initially, because there was, hey, I got this account, or this payment is it business, is it personal? And it's like you have to kind of use a discernment and a filter that Sean can help you decide which is which, and then you just kind of set that standard for the future. But having separate banks has been very transformative when it comes to keeping my business and my personal separate. I have a separate bank for my business, separate for my personal. And I actually, inside my little phone case here, if you want to check it out, I got my business credit card and my personal credit card. So, and I pay those off obviously every single month. I don't have any debt, and I like to keep it that way. But it's important, carry both cards. That way, if you're, somewhere and you're like, oh, this is business, this is personal, you just carry both cards. So that's a little tip for you. And that's an awesome proactive tax strategy. So we got S-Corp election, separate your personal and business finances. What is the third proactive tax strategy, Sean?
So third proactive tax strategy is around business deductions. There's a lot of info out there on business deductions, but I want to advise clients that have their own business to really scrutinize their expenses and determine, is this related to my business? Is this not? I think some very common things are your home office, which a lot of us working at home, working virtually, a home office expense is very, very relevant. I want you to be thinking about your laptop, your monitors, your iPhone, your microphone, your lighting, your webcam, your board over here, any furniture that you use in your office. I want to help coach and pull it out of you. I think that's one of the important things about proactive tax planning and conversations with your accountant is I'm able to kind of understand your business and ask the right questions to kind of get those expenses out, things that you may not have been thinking relate to your business, but actually do. Some other great examples are if you have an Apple Watch and you're using that Apple Watch to take calls or to do messages. Those are all things that we can expense through the business. Some other things tax strategy wise is if you're married or if you have kids. You consider, hiring your spouse to do some administrative work or get involved with the business. But paying your spouse through the business is absolutely justified if they're offering services. Kids as well. There are some limitations on the amount that you can pay your kids for the work. It needs to be a reasonable amount. But do think and do consider about the things that your family could get involved with and help you out with your business, because those are all business write-offs.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you're telling me I could pay Steph, my wife, for her back rubs and write it off?
Well, if it helps you deliver a better podcast, then absolutely.
Oh, well, it sure does. I love it. I mean, that is the truth, though, guys. There's a lot of these nuances that you just don't know about. I don't know about, but Sean does. And that's why it's important to hire people who know what the heck they're talking about, especially when it comes to your financials, especially when it comes to your taxes. And these business deductions, really powerful proactive tax strategy. Sean, I know there's probably a bunch of happy hustlers out there going, all right, this guy knows what the heck he's talking about. And, I know I'm lacking in some of these areas or not being as proactive as I can be. Maybe they're being more reactive. I know you set up something super gracious for all the happy hustlers out there. Tell us where people can go and what you're actually offering as a very generous, special something for the happy hustlers.
Yeah. So if you go to the happyhustle.com website /Sean, that's SEAN, you can register to have a Calendly link sent to you. And through this Calendly link, I'll ask a couple questions. One of those things, and this is the special thing that I'm offering, if you send me your tax return or access to your books in QuickBooks in advance, I can take a look at that return and I could come to the call prepared to provide my perspective and advice to you on a free 30-minute consultation. This consultation will be focused on getting to know you, some of your pain points, and seeing if you'd be a good fit for some of the services that we offer here at BluePeak. BluePeak, we do specialize in working with solo entrepreneurs and those entrepreneurs with S-Corps. We do have a middle tier, which is more forward-looking, budgeting, forecasting some KPIs. And we have a more kind of upper level, we call it our peak performance package, that's focused on bridging the $1 million company to $10 million company on how do you take that strategy and turn it into execution through project management, mobilizing teams, using leading indicators to help inform and track business performance so that you can make the right decisions at the right time to optimize your margins and your profits and ultimately happy hustle.
Oh, I love it. I mean, guys,
Yeah.
Take action on this. Get a free consultation with Sean. Even if you don't send him your books or tax returns prior, just still sit down with him and just ask him some of these questions. Go over these 3 tax strategies that we just covered, the S-Corp election, the separating of personal and business finances, and the business deductions, and just literally leverage his expertise. He's giving you his time, which is his most valuable commodity, truly. And all you got to do is just go to thehappyhustle.com /Sean. There's no catch. If you do decide to work with him, great. If not, don't worry about it. Just take his advice and run with it. But this is something that I tell you what, yes, listening to content and acquiring knowledge is powerful, but the implementation of that knowledge is what's going to actually allow you to start to happy hustle your dream reality. So, Sean, man, this has been great. We're going to actually have you on. We talked about it. We're going to have Sean on at least once a month on the podcast to actually bring you guys these innovative tax tips and strategies, because this is a very important part to happy hustling a life you love. You got to get your financial abundance flowing, and your business taxes and your personal taxes is a huge component of that. So, Sean, any final thoughts or calls to action that you want for the happy hustlers out there?
I just want to iterate what you said. Act now, right? It's never too late. Act now. Start thinking about it, whether it's working with me or taking some of these tips and bringing it to an accountant you already work with. I want people to be successful. I want them to be happy hustling and living a life full of passion and purpose. So yeah. It's been great having me, and I hope to, we'll be doing more in the future. So stay tuned.
I love that you said it's been great having me, because that's my line. It's been great having you, Sean. It's been great for real though, man. And guys, man, share this with a friend who maybe needs some tax strategies. Guys, share this with someone who maybe is a business owner. This is some important stuff. And we're going to be diving deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of financials and taxes every single month with Sean. So just stay tuned. But go one more time. If you want to take action on that very generous 30-minute consultation, you can go to thehappyhustle.com/Sean and book a time. All right, y'all. We are signing off. Thanks again for watching and listening. Peace and love.